everybody, it's Mrs. Mancuso with some Chemistry Regents Review. Today's topic is going to be metals, and I like to call them my left side losers. And the reason why I like that name is here's my reference table, and here's the staircase. The staircase separates the left side from the right side. My left side, which is the majority of elements on the periodic table, my left side are all metals. Metals tend to oxidize, which means they lose electrons. So oxidizing is losing. So oxidation is losing electrons. When something loses an electron, it becomes positive. If you look at the oxidation state of any of these metals, they're all positive ions. When you lose electrons, you become positive and you also become smaller. You could think of something like sodium. It becomes Na+1 by losing one electron. So that's my oxidation half reaction, and it shows that sodium becomes sodium +1 by losing one electron. And what happened to its configuration, it was 2-8-1, and now here it's 2-8. I can go look up what noble gas it is most like by looking up who has 2-8. So here was sodium here. I go back to the group before it, the period before it, and 2-8 is neon. So it has an electron configuration most like neon when it becomes a positive ion. Now, some of these metal atoms have multiple oxidation states. So if I look at cobalt, cobalt has +2 and +3 next to it. That tells me it could lose 2 or it could lose 3. And when we have a compound, so let's say we have cobalt 3 oxide. Cobalt 3 oxide tells me that this number right here tells me which oxidation state it is. So it tells me I need to put a +3 on it. So if I had to determine the formula, I would write CO +3, and then oxide is oxygen. Oxygen's oxidation state is a -2, and I crisscross. So this forms an ionic bond. That would be CO2O3, and that would be my formula. All right, another thing I want to talk about with metals is their properties. So there are 4 basic properties that we talk about with metals. Luster, that means shine. Metals tend to shine. The next one is that they are malleable. Malleable means that you can hammer them and form them into shapes, which is why metals are so useful for so many different products. They also are ductile or ductile, either way you want to pronounce it. That means that you can put them into a wire. And the last one is that they are very good conductors. They can conduct electricity and they can conduct heat. And to be able to conduct electricity is called being an electrolyte. And the ability to conduct electricity is based on one thing, and that is that they have mobile, charged particles. This phrase, it is so important for you to remember this. This comes up in many units, and it is a really common tested thing, so they want to make sure you understand it. So for something to conduct electricity, that has to have mobile charged particles. In the case of a metals have a sea of electrons. So even when it's a solid, it is good at conducting electricity because it has moving particles. Most other substances, everything besides metal, can't conduct electricity as a solid. It might be able to conduct electricity if you melt it. So I'm going to show you an ionic compound. Here's salt, NaCl. I know it's ionic, but as a solid, this cannot conduct electricity because there's no moving particles. They are staying fixed. But if I have NaClAq, I have now mixed it with water. When I mix it with water, the Na+ ions and the Cl- ions dissociate, separate from each other. That means I have mobile charged particles. So this can conduct electricity. And if I have something that's nonpolar, like CH4, if I try and put that in water, it's nonpolar. So that means it doesn't dissolve very well. That means it's not going to have any charges. It doesn't dissociate, so it cannot conduct electricity. Anytime I have an acid or a base, I definitely can conduct electricity because these are solutions, and an acid, think of like HCl, would break into an H plus and a Cl minus. So again, I've met my rule. I have mobile charged particles, so it can conduct electricity. All right, so that's my little lesson on metals. Join me again for more chemistry review.